The last time is now. John Cena will be retiring from professional wrestling within a matter of weeks. The last time is now tournament has begun. John Cena has won a new championship, and we are getting right into the roller coaster. We also have the AEW Full Gear pay per view ahead of us right around the corner next weekend. So we are going to talk about that as well. Just a fun time to be a fan. Again, I know I say that way too much, but I think in this case, it's absolutely warranted with John Cena's final matches ahead of us and of course AEW just delivering another pay-per-view. Hell, they had their blood and guts episode of Dynamite this past week, so we will talk about that. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and bring it back to John Cena. Monday Night Raw. Not only does the last time is now tournament begin, but John Cena wins the Intercontinental Championship by defeating Dominic Mysterio. This Intercontinental Championship is something that has eluded John Cena in his 20-year career, and now he has it going into the end of his career, where he'll either lose the title before he gets to his final match, lose the title in his final match, or retain the title in his final match. We will see what happens. I have a great many ideas on what would be a good way to handle this new Intercontinental Champion, John Cena, on Monday Night Raw. But it's very fun nonetheless, I will say. And I'll definitely talk with Famous B about this tomorrow because we have this Wrestling is Bullshit podcast going on right now. Today on the 16th of November, on the 17th of November, in 24 hours, I will be conducting the first ever Wrestling is Bullshit special. Now, this is meant to be a seasonal episode of the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast. And this is meant to be an episode of the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast where we expand on conversation beyond pro wrestling. I think it's fair to have one of these once every 3 months. Wrestling has no off season, and I feel like we're just oversaturated as fans, which would probably explain why a lot of people that cover this content online decide to get negative and hypercritical on it. That is not something I want to do. Instead, I think once every 3 months, we go ahead and have an episode where we get as many people in here as we can in terms of the folks that you've seen on this show before: Famous B, MTG Gaming, Lights Out Podcast, Ant. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, I do talk a lot about other things, including pro wrestling, with these guys that you'll see on this show. And I think giving ourselves a platform to show you a little bit more about what we enjoy and who we are will be good for the community and good for this show. So I do want to mention, we will be talking wrestling because there's a lot to talk about with wrestling right now. Um, but we will also branch out into gaming, into film, into television, whether that's actual TV shows or sports. I'm sure sports are going to be a humongous conversation for the Wrestling is Bullshit special that will be airing, or should I say will be dropping tomorrow on the 17th of November. Very excited. Um, so yeah, I just feel like, we got to hit our points here with a very busy week in wrestling, ergo the recording of this episode. And then I also definitely just want to make the Wrestling is Bullshit special and not make anyone feel like they have to talk about anything and just kind of let the conversation flow. I have an idea of what we're going to talk about, getting Famous B's thoughts on everything that's going on with John Cena and the last time is now tournament. That being one thing that I do want to talk about. And then, you know, I'll leave the rest up to interpretation, right? I think TNA is in a questionable space. I plan to give my opinion on that in this episode, but to hear what Miguel thinks of this with MTG Gaming MTG Gaming is the biggest TNA fan out of all of us. And I'm a pretty big TNA fan, but I got to admit, I'm kind of more of a, not that I'm a tribalist, but I like AEW the most. Okay. I enjoy the hell out of WWE. Like, it's very close. I will say that. It goes back and forth and it's very close, but I've been enjoying AEW lately. Um, Nonetheless, man, I feel like we're a good group of guys and that'll be a great episode. But without further ado, man, just talked about John Cena a little bit winning the Intercontinental Championship. Very interesting to see what they're going to do. I definitely, like I previously said a couple minutes ago, want to save that conversation for tomorrow. So John Cena wins the IC title. Awesome. I'm having so much fun with this, honestly. Yeah. Um, we also see Jasper Troy win the Speed Championship on NXT this week. Speed Championship has a new champion. Is around somebody else's waist, and we will see how they use this Speed Championship. It seemed like it was going to be used on X, formerly known as Twitter, in one way, and now that it's a part of NXT, it seems like it's going to be an undercard title, which could be good, could be really good. And then we also had AEW Dynamite, Blood and Guts, right? This episode of Dynamite delivered with 3 humongous matches, including the first ever women's Blood and Guts match, where we saw the heels get the win, which was very fun. I think it was a good choice to have these heels get a win, right? The Triangle of Madness, Marina Shafir, Mercedes Monet, and Megan Bayne getting the win over the baby faces here. And just overall, having a freaking fantastic Blood and Guts match. The women's Blood and Guts match was long overdue, and it absolutely delivered in a way that I expected it to. It's a testament to the continual excellence of the AEW women's division. Right, the first few years of AEW's existence did not feature an abundance of women's wrestling the way that it does today, and I want to shout that out because I think that that's very important. I think women's wrestling should always be competing with every main event of any premium live event or pay-per-view at a big scale show, right? Um, at a time where I think it's fair to say the women's division of WWE, while very entertaining, does feel more scarce than it is abundant. I feel like this AEW women's locker room has stepped their shit up over the past few years, and I think that this was a testament to that. So great job, women, ladies. Before we get into the men's Blood and Guts match, we did see Hangman Adam Page defeat Powerhouse Hobbs in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which was a fantastic showing from the AEW World Champion and Powerhouse Hobbs, who I hope has a big role to fill in 2026. I can imagine Powerhouse Hobbs being featured heavily on AEW programming in 2026, even being the focal point of storylines, chasing championships. I absolutely see that for Powerhouse Hobbs. So hopefully we can get that going for him as a single star in 2026. Just want to mention that this was a fantastic match. And then the men's Blood and Guts match was everything that you imagine it to be. It was violent, it was gross, it was wild, and we at the end of the day did see the babyface team win, especially Moxley, the leader of the Death Riders, being the first one to tap out, or the one for the Death Riders to tap out, excuse me. But the conglomeration, Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy, get the win here. Darby Allin even goes through a flaming table. Oh boy. Okay. Very awesome stuff here. I understand the ultra violence that AEW doesn't mind dipping into every now and then. May not be for everybody, but hey, man, I'm cool enough to hang for it, to be honest. Is it hard sometimes? Yeah, but that's how Darby Allin wants to wrestle. That's how John Moxley wants to wrestle. And that's how many others want to wrestle in AEW. And I find it enjoyable at the end of the day. But I understand if you're just not one of those people. I totally get it, to be honest with you. AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts was a lot of fun. Okay? AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts definitely puts a little pressure on WWE's Survivor Series War Games premium live event that will be coming at the end of this month. I'm excited to talk about that. I'm excited to see who did it better, right? Feel like what AEW does in the War Games cage and what WWE does in the War Games cage are at the end of the day two different things, and they're both very entertaining. Both very entertaining. And before we get on to some interesting news here, to round out the results of this episode, we have Frankie Kazarian defeating the TNA World Champion Mike Santana in his first title defense. You see, ladies and gentlemen, TNA Wrestling has been building Mike Santana up to be the TNA World Champion for the better half of 2025. So what do they do now that Mike Santana has finally become the TNA World Champion? They have him lose it in his first defense. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to rip into TNA. Okay? I'm going to rip into TNA right now. I'm sure it's great for Frankie Kazarian as he is the new TNA World Champion. But how do you build Mike Santana to that title for the better half of a year and then have him lose it in his first defense? I mean, Wrestling 101 here. This is not subverting anyone's expectations. This is only disappointing fans. It's a shame to see TNA make such a blunder. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get into the news. We had the PWI 250 revealed, which is the top 250 women's wrestlers ranked for the year of 2025. They do the PWI 500 for the men. We covered that earlier this year, and now we're talking women's wrestling, the top 250 women in professional wrestling, with Mercedes Moné at number 1. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. That is what I'm going to say, okay? At the end of the day, is it an eyesore to see 15 championships on Mercedes Moné? Yes, it is. I'm a huge Mercedes Moné fan, and even I get annoyed with the amount of championships that she carries around. A couple of them aren't even actual active championships, like the women's title from the Owen earlier this year, right? I know the undisputed British women's championship over there at Ref Pro is represented with 2 belts. She carries around that Queen of the South Side championship. That doesn't really mean anything. And there is just becoming an abundant amount of championships, and it's getting crazy. Listen, guys, as much as I do like Mercedes Moné, she is one of my favorite women's wrestlers ever, to be honest with you. If not my fave, I'm not going to lie to you. This is a little too much. Okay, this is a little too much. And I just hope that the portion of Mercedes Moné's time in AEW where she is chasing the women's world championship, I hope that is handled a little differently. I hope that women's world championship is not one of several. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm trying to convey that I agree with most of the concerns around Mercedes Moné right now, but not enough to take away from the great work that she is doing. She is doing fantastic work all over the world right now, and she deserves this number 1 spot on the PWI 250. Okay? This is absolutely deserved by Mercedes Moné. Just want to go through the top 10 here. All right, let's go ahead. And so we have Mercedes Moné at number 1, and then who I think could have been number 1 for 2025 is number 2, Timeless Tony Storm. All right. Timeless Tony Storm comes in at number 2. Now, Timeless Tony Storm has been fantastic. She's been one of the most popular wrestlers on the AEW roster out of anyone. But nonetheless, man, Mercedes takes 1, Tony Storm takes 2, and you gotta give PWI 250 props for calling a spade a spade. Okay, I truly feel like women's wrestling in AEW right now is not destroying women's wrestling in WWE right now, but is just doing a little bit better. Okay. If you wanted to make it some sort of humongous competition the way that I am right now, I think that the AEW women are leading by just a little bit. Okay. Because I understand that WWE is doing fine right now. Okay. And they will reclaim the throne for the best women's wrestling. I will say that right now. I think we will see better women's wrestling from WWE in 2026, 2027. But right now, let's go ahead and give that to AEW because they've been awesome. Tiffany Stratton, seen at number 4 here. Stephanie Vaquer at 5. Io Sky at 6. Okay. Um, so I think we do have some workhorses over there at the WWE women's roster. I just think Monet and Tony Storm have had a great year, a great 2 years even. Um, Athena at number 7, who has actually been fantastic for AEW as well. And then we have Naomi and Rhea Ripley at 9 and 10. So if you think about it, WWE does have more women in the top 10 for the PWI 250 than AEW, but AEW does seem to be on top right now with that, with their 2 big stars. Um, yeah, we also have another bit of news that isn't going to be great for WWE. Not that the PWI 250 is that big of a deal, to be honest with you, but it's fun. But we have SmackDown going back to a 3-hour show in 2026, right? We have this bit of news, which is kind of a bombshell, truthfully. The 2-hour shows have been fantastic for Raw, have been great for SmackDown, and I think they've been well paced, to be honest with you, enough to make me feel like I have to tune in. And I don't know, I think we're going to lose a great pace with SmackDown, which can't really afford to lose pace right now. Because I think if you were to compare Raw and SmackDown, I think you could say that Raw's doing a little better right now, to be honest with you. Nonetheless, we get SmackDown going to 3 hours, which means the pace is going to slow. And I just think that's going to be detrimental. I think if we have to move some people from Raw over to SmackDown or from NXT over to SmackDown or whatever, we'll definitely break a good flow. Maybe not for NXT, wouldn't be as big of a deal for NXT, but I think you leave Raw alone. I think Raw's doing fine. I thought the SmackDown roster was doing solid. I just think the Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre stuff at the end of the day was kind of a dud for me personally, and I was really expecting that to be like a marquee premium program there, and it just kind of fell short. Which is a real shame and another sign that you shouldn't be moving your weekly show to 3 hours, to be honest with you. That's a little too much there. I hope for the best as SmackDown moves to 3 hours in 2026, but I got to be honest with you, man. This does not spell pretty for SmackDown. Okay, this is tough. Honestly, I understand the USA Network wants their flowers in this whole arrangement of the modern WWE landscape. Where are you watching what and whatever? But I think this is going to hurt SmackDown. And I really hope I'm wrong, but it has the potential to hurt SmackDown at a time where SmackDown does not need any more negatives. Okay. Not that SmackDown is terrible per se. I just think we're at a time in the year where SmackDown isn't exactly hitting like it should. And I think Ilya Dragunov has been fantastic in SmackDown. Same with Sami Zayn. That United States Open Challenge has been keeping SmackDown afloat. Okay, but you look at the Women's United States Championship, doesn't mean anything. Sorry. Okay, I would like it to. I would hope that this new reign that has just been begun by Chelsea Green will change that. Okay, you look at the undisputed WWE Championship, and I'm sorry, I feel like that title is kind of in a lull right now. We're not seeing Cody defend it as much as we'd like to. I understand he's the guy, so they want to keep him clear. They want to keep him healthy. I get it. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel like there's any huge feuds for Cody and the undisputed WWE Championship. If I'm being honest, the World Heavyweight Championship over at Raw seems like it has a little bit more momentum right now. Even when Rollins had it, I would say the same thing. Even before he beat Cody at Crown Jewel. it just doesn't feel like, I know the tag division can definitely help out a lot. SmackDown does have a stellar tag division. And honestly, the women's division on SmackDown is not going to be enough to carry the lull that two or more championships have been in over at SmackDown right now. So this 3 hour thing, yeah, it concerns me a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I will remain optimistic. Okay, and this last bit of news here, I went ahead and put this in the news. Anthony is going to talk about this tomorrow. Our UFC guy, Ant, and he's going to talk about UFC 322. Okay. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I do want to save some steam for UFC to talk with Ant about it tomorrow. And ultimately, we're just going to talk about these two dominant champions, Valentina and Islam remaining dominant here. Islam is a double champion now, and Valentina successfully defends against Zhang Wei Li, who was punching up for this fight for sure. Valentina continues to be one of the most dominant champions in UFC. All right. Let's talk about the watch list, guys. We have a interesting week ahead of us. 4 big shows, really mainstream shows. You got 2 that are over there in the WWE umbrella, and then you have 2 AEW shows that are worth a mention here. The first one is Monday Night Raw. Not only will the Last Time Is Now tournament continue, but Becky Lynch will also defend the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Maxine Dupree. That should be a fun match. I have been missing Becky and her Intercontinental Championship matches on Raw, as she has not defended the belt in about 3 weeks, but she's been workhorse in this title, making it mean something. Props to Becky Lynch for going strong in the year 2025 with that Women's Intercontinental Championship. It's one of my favorite reigns right now, to be honest with you. Okay, and then on Tuesday, we have NXT Gold Rush, where we will see several title matches. Every single match on NXT Gold Rush this Tuesday, will be a championship match from either NXT, TNA, or AAA. Okay, definitely going to be a lot of fun here as Chelsea Green and Ethan Page defend the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Championship against Joe Hendry and Thea Hale. That's a lot of good fun there. And then we have Blake Monroe, the Women's North American Champion, defending against former champion Sol Ruka. That's going to be a lot of fun there. We have Dark State defending the NXT Tag Team Championship against Javon Evans and Leon Slater. That one right there might be the one I'm most excited for. Okay, Dark State doing fantastic work, very entertaining faction. And then Javon Evans and Leon Slater individually as well as collectively have been very entertaining. Two of the most entertaining wrestlers in the world right now, Javon Evans and Leon Slater. So I'm very excited to see them take on Dark State. A very underrated match that is probably going to get lost in the shuffle this week, which will be an eventful week of wrestling. Okay, and last but not least, the 4th match announced for NXT Gold Rush is Tatum Paxley defending the NXT Women's Championship against JC Jane. Okay, so NXT has a good show in store for us. I'm very excited. And then we have Monday, Tuesday, right? Filled with wrestling. How about Wednesday? 1, 2, 3. So Monday you got Raw. Tuesday you got NXT Gold Rush. And then Wednesday we have AEW Dynamite. We have Mercedes Moné taking on Red Velvet for the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship. Mercedes Moné is currently the interim champion, and Red Velvet is right now our official Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion. So we are going to unify the interim and main title of the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship on AEW Dynamite. That will be a solid match. Why? Because Mercedes Moné is in it. And even though there's too many freaking belts in the ring when Mercedes Moné is in the ring, she still goes ahead and gives a fantastic match when that bell rings. Okay? I will say that. And then Sunday, we have AEW Full Gear. This will be a fantastic pay-per-view from AEW. And I am very excited, as always, to watch any AEW pay-per-view, to be honest with you. Let's go ahead and look at this card. Not the whole thing, but matches of significance. And I want to correct myself. AEW Full Gear will be on Saturday. My mistake. Saturday, November 22nd. Okay, let's look at what we're going to do here for AEW Full Gear. We are going to crown an inaugural AEW national champion with a casino gauntlet match. And this AEW national champion is essentially going to serve as the AEW International Championship did before it got unified into the Unified Championship. So, um, a lot of, first and foremost, let's talk about the fact that a new title is coming to AEW. They have the roster to have another champion right now. Two of the three men's singles titles belong on members of the Don Callis family. Okay. We can absolutely get another title up in here. I think somebody like Ricochet can win it. Somebody like Bobby Lashley. Anybody, MJF, if you want, I think you save MJF for the world title, to be honest with you, actually. So I'll go ahead and correct myself on that. But we do have a roster that can definitely harbor successfully another singles championship in AEW. Okay. We're going to go back to 4 singles championships for that AEW men's roster. And I think that's fine. That's, at the end of the day, the way AEW operates, it'll be fine. It will absolutely be okay. It seems like Okada's going to hold on to this belt for a minute. Seems like whoever takes the unified championship from Okada will be in big business. TNT title is the best it's ever been. Okay, world title is in a high right now with Hangman Adam Page having a fantastic reign. So there should be no reason for this national championship to not have success. All right, it'll be successful. I can understand why people are weary. There has been a time where AW's had too many championships and not enough people to make them mean something. We're not in one of those times right now. And honestly, if AEW keeps doing what they're doing, we're gonna be fine having 4 men's singles championships for the roster. We're gonna be fine. We have Kyle Fletcher taking on Mark Briscoe in a no disqualification match for the TNT Championship. Going to be very exciting there. I hope Mark Briscoe wins the TNT Championship here. I think Mark Briscoe is ready to be TNT champion. I think Kyle Fletcher will lose nothing in defeat here. But Mark Briscoe has been built up, right? Has a pay-per-view victory over MJF. I think we give him that TNT championship and we give him a reign with it going into 2026. Let's freaking do it. Um, and then we have Brodito defending the AEW World Tag Team Championship against FTR. Do we see FTR win the AEW World Tag Team Championship right here? I don't see why not. I don't see why not. I don't see why we don't get another iconic AEW Tag Team Championship reign from FTR here. Brodito has been fantastic. At the end of the day, if they give Brodito the win, that'll be fine. But I think you put the titles on FTR and you go ahead and get people excited for 2026 with that AEW Tag Team division. And then we have 2 more matches of significance here at the time of this recording to analyze here, which is Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné for the AEW Women's World Championship. Now, I don't see Mercedes Moné winning the AEW Women's World Championship right now. I think if you wanted to give her the 3 count and have her win the title, that's fine. You could figure out how to go about that. Like I said, I don't think it should happen right now. I think you give Chris Statlander the win here. I think Chris Statlander is somebody that can carry this AEW women's division and keep that women's world championship relevant over at AEW in a way that Timeless Tony Storm has for years. I think Chris Statlander's next up to have great matches and great feuds with the likes of Tekla, with the likes of really any heel on the AEW women's roster. Okay. So yeah, I'm going Chris Statlander here. I think you kind of give Mercedes Moné a long break after she eventually loses all her championships or whatever, and then you go ahead and bring her back in late 2026, early 2027, and that's when you can build her towards the Women's World Championship. Last but not least, we have Adam Page versus Samoa Joe in a steel cage match for the AEW World Championship. We know this is going to cook. We know this is going to be awesome. Who are we kidding? AEW Full Gear. Very excited to watch it next weekend, next Saturday night. going to be a fun time. We're going to crown new champions. We are going to see the steel cage featured in the main event. And yeah, I'm very excited for this card here, especially going into AEW World's End, where we will have the Continental Classic underway to close out 2025. That's all I got for you this week, guys. It's been a lot. I'm glad I made this episode. Look at this nice 30-minute episode. There's just a lot to talk about. I wanted to get that represented on this show before we go ahead and have some fun tomorrow on the Wrestling is Bullshit special. All right, we will be celebrating the birthdays of Famous B and MTG Gaming tomorrow with the Wrestling is Bullshit special. We will talk a little pro wrestling, talk a little UFC. The conversation of Zuffa boxing will probably come into the UFC talk. And then after that, we will open up the floor amongst ourselves to talk about film, talk about gaming, talk about television, whether that's TV shows or sports. I imagine sports are going to play a big role, as previously stated. So the Wrestling is Bullshit special will be coming out. We'll have a little bit of conversation about what we talked about today on this current episode of the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast. And we'll go into the realm of other things, which I'm very excited to do with this show here. I think it'll liven it up a little bit. We're going to have a great time. But I want to thank you if you're listening. All right. Just, most of these podcasters and YouTubers would tell you to like, comment, and subscribe. I really don't care about that. What I do care about is you living in the present. So the call to action I'm giving to you is to live in the present. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. Escape the thoughts of your brain from influencing your reality and go ahead and be in the present. Yeah. All right. This has been the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast. I will talk to you guys very soon with a fun episode of the Wrestling is Bullshit special. Take care. Have a great day, night, morning, whatever you're about to go and conquer. Peace out.